What's up guys, it's Alex here, your friendly reef dog. Now last week I did a video telling you why you might want to consider having a Red Sea Reef or Peninsula up against the wall. And today I'm going to tell you why you might not want to do that. Before we get into the video though, if you're new to the channel, I put out a video like this every Friday at 4 PM UK time, which is 10 AM Central Time. So if you love reefing videos, have a think about subscribing. Right, let's take a look. Number 4 is a practical matter. Having two clear panels of glass makes for spectacular viewing of your livestock, but the payoff is that you have an extra panel of glass to clean. And because that panel is against a wall, it's quite difficult to get to. So not only do you have to have the tank further away from your wall than you normally would, thus eating into your living room space, you also won't be able to reach the far corner of the back panel unless you have go-go gadget arms, or move the tank a foot away from the wall. The far corner of this tank is my dirty little secret. I've tried wacky algae scraper extenders, but they're a bit of a faff, so I can't be bothered to use them regularly. So unless you have a child you can employ to squeeze down the back, it's something you'll have to live with. Number 3 is a fairly obvious one. You will be able to see whatever is behind your tank through the water. Now if you have a plain white wall, that's fine. But if you have purple bird wallpaper, or something equally controversial, it'll look like you have swimming birds in your tank. This is something I don't even notice anymore, as I just find myself concentrating on my livestock. But it's the sort of thing that might bother you, so it's worth bearing in mind. And if you share photos of your tank online, it's likely to be the first thing someone new to the tank notices. Number 2 then is a potential biggie, and it was one thing that nearly made me choose a Red Sea Reef 45XL instead. You only get flow coming from one end. It is of course possible to put a power head at the far end of the tank, but it would ruin the look of a rimless Peninsula tank, which is the whole point in the first place. So you can only really have your power heads at the weir box end, which means it's much harder to create turbulent flow in the same way you can in a normal tank, with power heads pointing towards each other from either end of the tank. Your best bet would be to try a gyre either side of the weir box, although that will almost certainly mean your sandbed at the end of the tank will get blown away. Flow influences growth speed and patterns as well as coral colours, and I find the flow is the lowest at the far end of my tank. It also means my fish hang out at the far end, which I do find a little bit irritating, and that's with two MP40s running at 80%. My solution is to have primarily low flow corals like LPS and Zoas at the far end, but that's not a choice I'd have made if I didn't go for a Peninsula tank, so it's a compromise you have to consider. And the number 1 drawback is that the Peninsula range is a lot more expensive. A Reef 425XL will set you back £1,350 in the UK, whereas the Peninsula 500 costs £1,900. So you're paying a 40% premium for a tank that's less practical and might restrict your coral choice or placement. If you bought a 425XL instead, you'd have £550 left over, which you could spend on an automatic filter roller, a Neptune Apex, or a weekend in Rome. You know, assuming you live in Europe. I would imagine the price is what will put most people off, and it's not like the alternative is a bad tank. The Reefer range all look great and are really well built, and ultimately the skill and choices you make as a reef keeper are the main factors that will determine how good your reef looks, and not the tank itself. So there you have it then. Quite apart from the fact that it's designed as a room divider and therefore looks much better as a room divider, those are the reasons you might not want to have a Peninsula tank up against a wall. Having said that though, I still think it's a great option and one you should definitely give some thought to. So check out the video I did telling you the reasons why it's a good idea. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up and subscribe for future content, and in the meantime check out some of my other videos, and until next time, happy reefing.